My name is Talia Schmidt, and I am a co-founder of Eco Schools Leadership Initiative, or ESLI. And today we are going to be doing the lesson, Grow It Anywhere, where the objectives are to have students identify how to grow their own food and for students to identify local food options. The first thing that we want to do is we want to get all of the prep set up. So you can see that we have 3 different boxes, Costa Rica, Washington State, Iowa, each of which represent 3 different places where 3 common foods come from. So under the Iowa box, we have put corn. Under the Washington State box, we have put an apple. And under the Costa Rica box, we have put a banana. And you can tell from underneath the Iowa box, you don't necessarily have to have each of these ingredients. You don't necessarily have to have corn to do this lesson. You can always just print off a sheet of paper with corn on it. In front of each of the boxes, we're going to have the 3 different food items, corn, apple, and banana. Not necessarily in front of each of the boxes, which have one of them underneath them, but the point of this is just for the kids to see these actual foods instead of just talking about them. So one thing we want to do is we want to have maps out, and ideally students would be split into different groups, and each of the groups will have maps. And you can see here that we have a little marker of where Virginia is. From there, we want to take a piece of string or something that students can measure from where point A is of where Virginia is to the different locations of the different food items that we're using today. You can see that one of the options is from Virginia to Iowa, which is where the corn is grown. And we have another option that's from Virginia to Washington State, which is where the apples are grown. And our third option is from Virginia to Costa Rica, which is where the bananas are grown. So as the instructors of this game, you're going to have all the boxes already set up with each of the food items under the correct box before the kids come into the room. Then when they come into the room, you are going to have them, you're going to show them the 3 different food items, which are, since we have 2 of each, 1 of each of the food items are in front of the boxes. And the students will be able to see these different food items, and you're going to give them the 3 possible locations, Washington State, Costa Rica, and Iowa, where each of the foods are most commonly located. Ideally, you'll have each of the kids split into 3 or 4 different groups, and you can have one of your instructors go to each of the groups, and this is where you're going to have your conversation. So the kids can turn to their neighbors and discuss where they think each of the foods are located, and each group will have their own map so that the students can start locating where each of these different states are. Step 1. Split up the students by tables or groups and assign one of your instructors with a map to each group. Step 2. The lead instructor introduces the activity by explaining the objectives of the day, which include identifying where food comes from and identifying local food options. He or she also states that a food item, banana, apple, or corn, is under each one of the boxes. Step 3. Have the groups use the map to identify where Washington State, Iowa, and Costa Rica are. Step 4. Use background information like climates to guess where each food was grown. Step 5. Give groups a few minutes to discuss where each food item is from. Once groups are ready, pick one person from each of the 3 tables to lift up one of the boxes to reveal a food item. Step 6. Give the students time to sit back down with their groups and have a discussion about where our food is grown and the implications of buying food from far away. These include transportation, pollution, quality, etc. Make sure you have students throw out their own ideas. Step 7. Have students brainstorm ways to get food locally. one of which is growing our own food anywhere. Prep for growing in anything. Have enough containers for each of the children. Each one should be punctured by the instructor ahead of time. Prep 2. Have enough soil for all the students in the class. Make sure you have worms, compost, and small rocks that you can talk about later in the soil. You can use any containers. Have students collect milk cartons and soda bottles, but have instructors do the cuttings ahead of time. Step 8. Hold up recycled container and ask students what this could be used for. Step 9. Have each student look at the bottom of the container of the drainage holes and discuss why this is necessary for water drainage. Step 10. Make sure each student is sitting quietly. Step 11. Instructor goes around the room with a bin of soil and gives each student enough. Do not let students take the soil out of the bin by themselves. Step 12. Have students observe what is in their soil: worms, compost, small rocks. Step 13. Have students use their pinky fingers to make indents in the soil for the seeds. Step 14. Instructor goes around and gives the students 8 to 10 seeds, depending on the package, to sprinkle in their containers. Step 15. Give each student a piece of newspaper to tape to the bottom of their containers so that the soil does not spill out of the holes. Have students write their names and date onto their container. Voila! This is what it looks like a few weeks later.